Hey there, everybody. I'm gonna have to get used to looking at that the camera thingy because it's off to the side. It's kind of funny, but anyway. So I'm doing a check-in for Sagittarius. Already pulled two cards, two oracle cards to get the kind of an overview, a blanket, an umbrella, and here they are. Okay, let me check the numbers. This came out first. It's funny. We must be right on time. Number one is number one. And it's yang, or yang. Tomato, tomato, potato, potato, whatever you say. You're welcome here. And then 16, all that glitters. Okay. You see the face up here? You're being watched over. And I see some choices going on. Okay. And interesting, let's start here. So I'm really seeing the power within. And what I love is a lot of people get nervous when these retrogrades come on. There are a lot coming at once. But this is we could say a pretty heavy year. But gravity's good. It keeps us connected to the earth. It draws roots downward. It puts things where they belong and helps us rise up. But anyway, so it's blue skies here, right? Nothing to worry about. Everything's going on good as usual. And it also goes along with the runes that I picked. They are inverted, except the two central ones, which can't be. They don't have an... Yeah, they agree. And so again, it's just the retrograde. We're going to see what we've been sowing. You can be tempted to feel the same feelings you've been feeling while you were working and waiting and getting impatient, thinking nothing was coming along. But anyways, well, cleaning your slate, dusting it out, erasing the chalkboard for those of you who know what that is. Anyways, so here we go. But there's magic, okay? The stars, the seeds, the dreams, and beginning to work that from yourself to yourself. Not just towards dreams, but self to self, your source, your being, where it all comes from. Like the card of judgment's been coming up a lot, so it's changing your mind. And even with one of the runes, the final one that was picked, really, it's called signals, and I would sum it as to renew your attitude. So just wash away the attitude. You may still be dreaming the same dreams and going for the same things or interacting with similar people, but change your attitude and let's begin to make some mental notes and witness how the things around you are changing. So that's kind of the magic of what I see going on in this card. It's kind of like involving the whole head, both the sun and the moon, both what you see and what you receive, and resetting that. And I love it because to me it's almost like this cloud is a puff of smoke being released out. It's like trust that your inner work will be changing your outer world. And this doesn't mean work with fervency. What the runes were showing me is this is really a time, even though this is yang energy, it's concerted effort to change your mind state, the way you're thinking, the internal. And it's not something that you have a bunch of things to work on or habits to change. It's really just putting the brakes on anything you wouldn't want to see in your world. Sometimes we go on to the next step of trying to manifest, or what's that called? Laws of attraction, that kind of stuff. But if your home is crowded, if your mind is crowded, if things are still lingering around here, there's no room for them. So we begin to clean and clear out and release, and that's a lot of what you could see this rune has to do with, right? It's really just simplifying and getting it down to seeing and knowing who you are, and who you are is really who you want to be. From your inside master teacher, it's like, I love cheerfulness. The environment doesn't dictate that. If I'm going to be the thermostat, I'm going to set that forth in my mind. So when something comes to start to produce an effect out of me, we'll say test me, right? Produce an effect out of me. I go, Like one day I was opening the bag of coffee beans to grind them, and It had been open before, so the seal was already loose, but for some reason, there was a little tear in the fold and they just shot everywhere. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? And I thought, did I really just react like that? I mean, it wasn't a big deal, but at the same time, if a child had seen that, they'd be giggling in the floor, right? And rolling around and not thinking the first thought about cleaning it up. They would just be enjoying that surprise moment, right? So here it is, a couple of months later, and my son had, for some reason, put some peanut M&Ms in the freezer and went to go grab them, and they shot all over the place. And I thought, thank you for my moment that was done alone, right? Inside here, that the coffee beans and the reflection thereof and the changing of my, this is a future room, changing of my attitude, so that when it came a moment of happening in my environment, in my world, where there was a witness, another person, which is actually what this one has to do with, we laughed. Because I saw the point of recognition in the moment in his head. He went to look down. And just through looking down, we can often get downcast, right? Because we're considering our choices. And I started to just rip a laugh. I just laughed and I let loose because I was going back, like the winter time that's upon us now, the retrograde. I was going back and redeeming that moment of my coffee bean. Those going everywhere. And so now it's like double the joy. There it is in front of me. And we're enjoying that moment. He looks up and he starts to laugh. And we just have a really good time because it was the night before Easter. And even though he's an adult now, and I think I'm an adult too, it was like the big fat peanut ones. They were like little Easter eggs scattered everywhere. And I shouted, Easter egg hunt, Easter egg hunt. And we just laughed and laughed and laughed. And we were helping each other clean it up. And it became, in a sense, lighthearted. We could say a game, right? And life is serious, but we should take it on like a game of how do we play the notes in the symphony, like it's an instrument. And the song that comes out is based on how we play it, which we could say is our intention. And my intention is to be cheerful, right? To be joyful when things produce an effect out of me. We could call it a test, but that could be a negative connotation, right? So it's just when you poke the Pillsbury Doughboy, what comes out? A laugh. So anyways, that's really a tight nut of the gist of everything going on here. And I haven't even pulled the tarot cards. But that's the overview. Sorry. I had a message coming in. That's the overview of it. But it's also why we'll see what's coming in here on the all that glitters. I know how that's usually interpreted, but to me it's just really, it's focusing more on the energy behind it. Don't get distracted. Don't get caught in the illustration. Think about the principle just like that. The principle is more when things come, how do I want to respond? Cheerfully. Not when this happens, I will act that way. When this happens, I will act that way. It's really just pulling that back in. Don't get distracted by events and environment. It's time to tune in. All right, that's the activeness, the yang. Remember the tuning in and going, how would I like others to behave in my world? Because if you know how you want them to behave, you can know how you want you to behave. And I like people who are happy and cheerful and available, not just physically but mentally. A lot of people are there but not there, and they're there to really just kind of get out of the way and be your friend. They're there to enjoy your journey, to bring our journeys alongside one another. I like people that realize how precious life is and how beautiful and valuable it is, that arguing and bickering is squanderous and wasteful, so they set that aside to either move on. We step over those issues like dead bodies and just leave them right behind, because often in a moment they clear, or they're attached to